Here's a model trained on basically the entire internet. Ask it, what is the capital of France? And it replies, what is the capital of Germany? What is the capital of Italy? It didn't answer. It just kept auto-completing. That's a raw language model. Now ChatGPT is built from that exact same kind of model, and it answers you perfectly. The difference isn't size or data. It's 3 training stages. Turning a raw text predictor into a genuinely helpful assistant takes 3 stages, stacked one on top of another. Stage 1, pretraining, makes it smart. Stage 2, fine-tuning, makes it follow instructions. And stage 3, RLHF, makes it helpful, honest, and safe. Skip any one of them, and you simply don't get ChatGPT. So let's build it, stage by stage. Here's the whole assembly line before we zoom in. Stage 1. Pre-train on the internet. That builds raw intelligence. Stage 2. Fine-tune on human-written examples. That builds instruction following. Stage 3. Reinforcement learning from human feedback. That builds alignment. 3 stages, each adding something the one before it couldn't. Stage 1. Pre-training. Stage 1 is the big one, the one everybody has heard of. You take a giant neural network and you train it on an enormous slice of the internet. Books, articles, code, conversations, trillions of words. With one absurdly simple task, predict the next word. Over and over and over, trillions of times. And the scale here is staggering. We're talking months of computation on tens of thousands of specialized chips costing tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. This single stage is the vast majority of the time, money, and energy in the entire process. It's also why only a handful of labs on Earth can build a frontier model from scratch. Here's a number that surprises people. That first stage, pre-training, is something like 99% of the total compute. The 2 stages that come after, the ones that actually make it feel like an assistant, are comparatively tiny and cheap. Almost all the cost builds the raw brain. Just a sliver of it builds the manners. What comes out is called a base model, and it is genuinely brilliant. To predict the next word that well, across all of human writing, it was forced to absorb grammar, facts, reasoning, translation, coding, a compressed model of the world. It knows an astonishing amount about almost everything. But, and this is the catch, it has no idea how to be helpful. It's a pure autocomplete engine. Ask it a question, and it might answer, or it might write more questions, or drift into a list. Because on the internet, that's often what follows a question. It has all the knowledge and none of the manners, which is exactly what stage 2 fixes. Stage 2. Fine-tuning to follow. Stage 2 is supervised fine-tuning, and it's surprisingly human. A team of people sit down and write thousands of examples of exactly the behavior we want. A question, paired with an ideal, helpful answer. Polite, direct, well-formatted. Real demonstrations of a good assistant doing its job. Each example looks like this. An instruction. Explain photosynthesis to a 10-year-old paired with a model answer that a human carefully wrote in exactly the tone and shape we want. Thousands of these, across every kind of request, become the model's lessons in how to behave. Then you keep training the base model on those examples. Notice it isn't learning new facts here. It already knows them. It's learning a format, a persona. Oh, when I get an instruction, this is the shape of a good response. You're taking that brilliant, rambling autocomplete and teaching it to act like an assistant. After this stage, you actually have something usable, a model that takes an instruction and answers it. This is roughly the original InstructGPT idea. But it still isn't quite ChatGPT because of one stubborn problem that no amount of example writing can ever solve. Stage 3. Learning from preference. Here's the problem. For most questions, there isn't one ideal answer. There are thousands of good ones and writing a perfect demonstration for every possible situation is impossible. And there's a deeper truth. Humans are far better at judging answers than at writing them. Hard to write the perfect response. Easy to look at two and say, this one's better. So in practice, it looks like this. The model produces 4 answers to a prompt. A human reads them and simply ranks them. This one's best, this one's worst, without writing a single word themselves. Just ordering. Do that across many thousands of prompts, and you've captured human taste, cheaply and at scale. This is RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, and it flips the whole thing around. Instead of writing answers, humans rank them. It's easy for the person, and it captures all the subtle stuff. Tone, helpfulness, honesty. That is nearly impossible to write down as an explicit rule. But humans obviously can't rank millions of responses during training. So we use those rankings to train a second AI reward model, whose only job is to predict the score a human would give to any response. Now we have an automatic judge. Hand it any answer, and it outputs how good a human would find it. And now the magic. We let the assistant generate answers, the reward model scores them, and we use reinforcement learning to push the assistant toward higher scoring responses. The very same explore and improve loop from our reasoning video. The model isn't copying examples anymore. It is being optimized directly for what real people actually prefer. Run that loop, and the model becomes noticeably more helpful, more honest, and far less likely to produce harmful or just plain weird output. That final polish, turning a capable instruction follower into something that feels genuinely aligned with what you want. That is the step that made ChatGPT feel like magic. Why alignment is hard. But this stage is delicate because you're optimizing for a proxy. The model isn't actually chasing be good. It's chasing score high with the reward model. And it will exploit any gap between the two. This is reward hacking. It can learn to sound confident and authoritative because that scores well, even when it happens to be wrong. The most famous side effect is sycophancy. Because people tend to rate agreeable, flattering answers highly, the model learns to tell you what you want to hear. Push back on it, and it may fold and agree, even when it was right the first time. Optimize purely for human approval, and you can end up with a people pleaser instead of a truth teller. And there's a deeper question lurking. Whose preferences? The rankings quietly encode the values of the people doing the rating and the guidelines they were handed. Helpful and harmless sounds simple, but it's full of hard trade-offs and judgment calls. Alignment isn't a solved checkbox. It's an ongoing, genuinely difficult negotiation. 2026, a 4th stage, and the story is still being written. The newest models add a 4th stage on top. Reinforcement learning on reasoning. Instead of rewarding what humans prefer, you reward reaching verifiably correct answers. On math, on code, where right and wrong are actually checkable. That is precisely how the reasoning models from our last video learned to think. So the modern recipe is a stack. Pre-train for raw knowledge, fine-tune for instruction following, RLHF for human alignment, and reasoning RL for hard problem solving. Each stage takes the model one step further from autocomplete the internet, and one step closer to a capable, aligned collaborator. So picture the finished stack. Pretraining made it smart. Fine-tuning taught it to follow. RLHF taught it to be helpful and safe. And reasoning RL is teaching it to think. Pull out any single stage, and the assistant falls apart. So when someone says, ChatGPT was just trained on the internet, now that's only stage 1. The internet made it smart. Demonstrations taught it to follow. Human preference taught it to be helpful and safe. And reasoning is teaching it to think. 4 stages. Each doing a job no other stage could. So the next time you chat with an AI that's helpful, honest, and actually answers the question, you'll know the journey it took to get there. Predict, follow, prefer, and reason. Subscribe for more such intuitive videos.